Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Ball Watching. We're going to slow roll our way through this one here, Justin, this week. It's nice to have a little bit of a buffer if anyone's kind of just tuning in or might have missed it. And there's no match this weekend for City. We are entering our first of this season FIFA International windows. So it's going to be a little of a break for the boys in the City Red kits, but not a break for us here, as we're going to talk a little bit of U.S. men's national team as well, Justin, today. It's going to be fun to kind of change the pace and look at what is the last window before the World Cup. Justin, I'll start there. How crazy is that to hear?
It's insane. And it gets me extremely excited. This is a team that, this is the tournament. It's on home soil. It's probably what I would say the most talented team we've ever assembled. You can talk about grit and the old school guys, but when you talk about the guys that are going to be making up this team individually, by far the most talented. We'll see how they can gel together, especially in some of these friendlies that are now the biggest ones to date, knowing that Pochettino has been playing more chess than checkers, in my opinion, last summer with some of these matches. But now's the time where you really got to get things going. What are your thoughts about this team, just generally before we dive into it later?
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I mean, this is you're missing some faces, unfortunately, just due to health reasons for most of them. But it is the last camp, and these are true measuring stick opponents. I know Portugal's Ronaldo-less, but Portugal is still Portugal, and Belgium and Portugal are two of the toughest opponents I think we will have played. Not the toughest, but probably top three, top four since the last World Cup cycle. So it's tough for the U.S. to get some of those things scheduled. And knowing we were heading into a home World Cup, I think the program was a little bit unwilling to go play European matches away from home, given we were going to be playing on home turf, which usually I don't think they would say as much about. So it's just cool to have two big time powerhouse European teams that will be sniffing around, the final parts of the tournament, you'd imagine, here at home, and putting a measuring stick and just kind of seeing where you're at, man. So I'm excited to kind of break it down, but we're overlooking the first win for St. Louis City of the weekend. I know it's a couple days away now, Justin, but I mean, it was one I think you and I gave us the best probably chances of so far this season. We were not geniuses for saying that either. But New England definitely, of the strength of schedule for the first opening five opponents, was the least of them. And, we got the business done, but just not in the way that I expected. I know we're going to talk about that, Justin, but let's break into the Hoffman Brothers starting 11 here. Hoffman Brothers, our presenting sponsor for 2026. It's time. We scraped the lower 80s today. I was sweating my tail off last week and doing the first lawn mow of this new home, and it was 90s, and I'm like, oh my god, like our houses are going back and forth, snip snap, snip snap, snip snap, and I'm so glad that we just have Hoffman Brothers to cover us on that end, because God knows what this house is thinking under the roof, saying, oh my god, like when are they going to make up their mind outside? They're not going to, because we live in St. Louis.
Exactly, Jake. And that's the one where it's been tough. And we've been kind of telling everybody, make sure your heating's been going kind of end the season. That season's not even done. But now we're going to flip to HVAC maintenance as we're entering warmer weather. Jake, tomorrow's opening day for the Cardinals. I have a quick retweet or delete on that right after this. But it's going to be 90 degrees. 90 is a high tomorrow. Do you know what the low is on Saturday? 35. So it's like you need to make sure that your HVAC is good to go. Get your AC tune-up completed now, because guess what? If you can't keep up with it now, St. Louis is buying you a couple days. We're not getting back into the 80s until next Monday. So call Hoffman Brothers or visit them online at hoffmanbros.com. But Jake, my quick retweet or delete. The Cardinals, opening day, like I said, is tomorrow. Their over-under in wins is 69.5. Do you think – I'm just going to – actually, no, my retweet or delete. We're not going to win 70 games this year. Retweet or delete.
I'm an imposter here, man. I know so little about baseball and basketball while we're kicking on Jake. But, I trust those that do know ball. I'll retweet you, Justin, there, but I will also add, I like youth. And as much as the Cardinals, people want to dunk on them for how they've handled the last couple of seasons, and I think there's fair jabs, absolutely. I do think they are now kind of coming to terms with who they are. And they're going to play the kids, man. It's going to be a fun, youthful, exciting team. And I don't think, if you're looking for competitive, I don't think this is the market to look in this season or maybe even the next. But you're going to look at guys that are hungry, that are young, that are going to grind for every at-bat they have. So I think it'll be cool. Like, it's not cool to be in rebuild, don't get me wrong, but it's cool to see young guys that really go out there and have a certain level of a hunger and a pride to make a name for themselves.
And you've seen a lot of those young guys from last year. That some of them are going to be recurring names. One to look out for that's not recurring is JJ Weatherholt. We took him seventh overall in the 2024 draft. He is now the fifth ranked prospect in the MLB. Period across all prospects. So this guy actually did make the opening day roster for tomorrow, which is huge and something very unheard of for a guy that young. So keep an eye out for him. But Jake, I'll circle us back into the Hoffman brothers starting 11. Nothing overly surprising here. Again, right? I think everything is another mainstay. The only rotation that we've been seeing is who is playing next to Hartel, and it's in this time it was Celio Pompeo. I think we started what we have two Sangbins, two toy shirts, and now a Celio. Is that correct?
That's right. I think that's right. Yep.
Everything else has been a mainstay. So you got Berkey, and then you go from left to right. You have Polvara, Baumgartel, Orozco as your back three. In front of them, you have Santos, Edelman, Durkin, Vollum, then Hartel and Celio underneath of Simon Betcher.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, obviously Toy Shirt's out, not even practicing right now. So that, fills that space. I know I was kind of clamoring for a Joyner start, and he scored again for City 2 this weekend. And it's just like, what else does that guy need to do to get some minutes here? But we'll talk about Celio, but I clearly he's valued by DeMay, like not enough yet to start until this match. And I don't think I watched this game, Justin. I say that he has to be the guy there either. But fundamentally, we played differently when he was involved. Like he just gave us a totally different look on the right side. He's a guy that I feel like he's a chaos type of player, right? You know what I mean? Him in a structured system, he think he's very much a plug and play player, right? When I say plug and play, by the way, I mean like fits into your system, plays a really good role, gets along well with his teammates on the pitch. I mean, like kind of connects play and moves the ball around necessarily. I think Celio is a guy that you kind of make something out of nothing guy, whether that's a laser beam from 30 yards out, his one-on-one play. I don't think we have anywhere else on the team. So just his ability to just create chaos down one side of the pitch and just force the defensive team to kind of do something a little bit different than they're used to doing. I think he brought that all night. And again, I'm not like sold on him being the guy here, but I don't think if you're Celia, you walk off the pitch feeling down about your game. I think you've given DeMay a serious consideration for either game states or for certain matchups.
And I think that's one, Jake, that we've always talked about and kind of give DeMay a little crap about, like, well, if these guys, you have to earn it. It's not given. Who on the field has earned the starting spot because we haven't gotten there. I also think that this one, to your point, is more of a chemistry thing. And I also could see this being more of like hey, we're back home. The fans are kind of losing a little bit. Did you hear the roar when they announced Celio's name in the starting 11?
Yeah.
It was the loudest out of everybody. And so that's something that if you're looking for a crowd base to get behind, and I'm not saying that's the only reason DeMay made that start. I'm sure he was in between him and Sangbin. But if that is something where you're looking for a little bit of excitement behind your fan base and people are claiming about it, throw him out there. And I think he deserves it. And it's not a charity thing. He's a guy that creates some of our most exciting chances on the ball. He can get up and down the wing. Maybe he's not fully fit to go a full 90 just because of how much he is running. But I thought it was an awesome choice by him, and I was excited to see that in the starting 11 announced.
And it brought more of a look to Wallum too, right? Like he was on no man's land these last couple of matches. I mean, like I don't think you or I wrote much of anything about him. Maybe a slight negative on some of the goals that were scored down our right side. But Wallum, you can still say like he's got a lot to go so far this season. I just don't think the positivity that he brought last season has been really shown yet. But he was a lot more involved in this one, and I'd have to say that's probably because he had a different profile or a different kind of fit in front of him with Celio. But let's talk about this game here, Justin, because we talked about it a little bit right before this, and you've all probably seen it at this point. But eye test stats kind of tell the same story. This was very much New England's game to start from the beginning. In the opening 20 or so minutes, we were I'm not going to say on the ropes because that's not what it was, but we were not settled. I don't think we came out very strong in this first half. I feel like we kind of let New England kind of dictate. And defensively, Yoann Demay spoke to it as well in the press conference. I feel like some of our positioning, some of our spacing was off. That was allowing New England to kind of, bait some of our center backs, our wide center backs in on the press and had them get beat with an easy 1-2 and find that third runner in behind. There was one of these chances, Justin. I don't know how it wasn't scored. I think it was the moment of silence, frankly, that I think you and I were texting about it for Ilona. And I mean, thank God, at the very end of that sequence, as it was dead quiet, New England was streaking in with a 2v0 pretty much. And, by grace or by whatever, we were let off the hook on this one. But I just feel like you saw those lapses. And yeah, I feel like, Justin, tell me what you think here. It tends to come with a combination of Baumgartel and Polvara kind of getting caught, trying to get stuck in on a challenge or a duel and kind of dabble a toe out there and poke one free, or just get up the backside of an attacker, and it doesn't pull off for either of them, and they're both now pulled out of position, and we're playing catch up, and we've got runners going toward our goal. And that just, it feels like I've seen that many times already this season.
It's weird because you would think, sorry, can't sit on my throat. You'd think with the 5-back system that we wouldn't have so many openings, but I think it truly is with how much Valum and Santos are getting up the field. It's then leaving us somewhat exposed. And I think that's one that I'm going to talk about it, Jake, real quick, in this goal as well. It's our rest defense, in my opinion. I think it's a mixture of where we're at prior to them getting at us and running down our throat. Because, Jake, you are right. I think I have it in here. Let me scroll down. They're in their shots in the first half. They had a shot for 0.34 XG and 0.59. Both were the ones that weren't even the goal. So they're creating these chances. And that was in the 12th minute, in the 18th minute. So you are correct. Right after the moment of silence, literally within the next 30 seconds, that happened. And that's where it's hard for us, is that, one, I'm glad that we weathered that. But then two, I'm going to share screens real quick on this goal. It's about our rest defense. There is, again, no reason why Baumgartel needs to be this wide. When you look at this, there is 1, 2, 3 guys on City defending one guy on New England. And then guess what one pass does? It beats 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of our defenders, slots him in behind. Orozco should just be taking him to the left. He should be dropping in here. You have Durkin on the ball. Edelman's in a fine spot. Baumgartel needs to be back here closer to, what is it? Does that be Polvara? And because, again, guess what? After they slot this ball in, Baumgartel, not on your horse. You're done. And look, I think Polvara's in a good spot here. He does a great job. That's a tough, close one. This attacker actually tries to get his foot on it. That's a great job by him to try to knock him off the ball. This is terrible right here from Santos as well.
Yeah.
If you're going to be on the back post, you need to be getting a man. It's not a space that you're owning. You're owning a man when you get into the box, because all you have to do, we've talked about it multiple times, you just have to be close enough that you don't even have to win the ball. You just got to knock the guy off just a little bit to make sure that he doesn't get a clean shot. But after this ball is missed, he gets a clean shot right at the middle, and Santos can't get to it. But Jake, it all starts with where Baumgartel is. I think he's in a fine position here. But as this drifts wide, he does not need to try to close this down to where we have 3 people now. Orozco needs to drop back in there. You followed him up, you drop back in. Valum's taking him. There's no one else there. Instead, Baumgartel steps up here. And then we have 5 guys beat with one pass, and it's done before you know it. So I truly do think that this is more than just like a one-on-one defending thing. This is actually more of a rest defense issue that we're having, and it's with the back line and where they are, not only up and back on the field, but the width of it including.
Yeah, I would agree. And again, I feel good because I feel like I heard that, right? I didn't, like, not that exact detail analysis, but literally moments after the game, DeMay talked about the spacing in our defense and just sort of that being off in that opening sequence, the first half, or even just all the first half, and the adjustments they made coming into the second half. But I think they were able to kind of steer the ship back on track right after. So that goal goes in. They have another big chance later on the 18th minute. Then New England goes quiet. And we sort of, I feel like, start to assert ourselves, Justin. And it couldn't have come at a better time for a better person. But in the 30th minute, we get our breakthrough. And for me, it's 2 guys that people have been down on, frankly, right? Like recently, especially, you have Edelman, who's been playing a lot of minutes. And, I don't think everyone thinks he's the finished product yet. He's obviously still have plenty of years of time. He's, U22. But Edelman, we saw this exact goal in preseason. I think we've already seen it this season as well. Wins the ball high up on a loose touch from an attacker for New England and plays a quick, direct ball into feet, Simon Betcher. But Justin, I think the most impressive thing for me on the Betcher opportunity is, what would you expect if you saw a striker that was really struggling for form? You'd see them flapping at things, trying to just to get it over the line by any means possible. And I feel like a lot of strikers, even that aren't struggling like that, might have missed this opportunity because the defender closed very quickly on Simon Betcher. But his ability to know positionally, kind of spatially, where the defender was off his back shoulder, see him closing, and use an outside kind of touch to close inside and let the defender skate right by him, and then just rocket this ball straight into the net. Yeah, Turner gets a touch on it. I think just Simon underperforming his XG, with both this season, last season as well, pretty much ever since he arrived in 2024. He had that great kind of beginning, and then since then he's kind of been underperforming what you would expect. But this moment for me, I think, just meant a lot. Not just for him to get in the score sheet, Justin, but it's the composure he shows in that moment. It just tells me that, like, it's not gone for him. It's still there. Like, that composure to not just flap when you get in that big opportunity, because he took it with some pride and some poise.
I think composure, Jake, is the word that I was going to use right before you were going to get done. Was the fact that he could have easily tried to just that pass. Think about, I thought watching this live, the pass that he made to Hartel in our first game, where it's like a turnaround, perfectly slotted pass. I thought he was going to do that with a shot here, and he easily could have.
Oh,
Just always
yeah.
played it right there. I think he could have easily just tried to then put it in the far post. Great first touch. And then he could have also just had his head down and tried to rip it. No, I'm going to Cruyff this defender and then just finish with my left. And yes, it's not going to be the perfect finish, but having the composure and the timeliness and the footwork, more importantly, to be able to get that off, extremely impressive. I understand, yes, Mike Sten is probably going to get on here in a week and be like, it's all about where he finishes the ball. It's like, I don't care, man. Blast it through Matt Turner's hands and put it in the back of the net. Good thing for Simon Betcher. I'm very, very happy and proud of him. Shout out, go Bills.
You love it. I mean, two guys, but again, Edelman, kudos to him as well on winning that ball where he did and spraying that ball directly right away, because he gets an assist there. And Justin, I think, we can talk about it later, but Edelman, that was my favorite game of his tenure with us so far. I mean, he was a nightmare in the central midfield, just an absolute destroyer. He was the prince that was promised.
He was the one. Wow, I haven't heard that saying before. I like that.
Yeah.
But he was the one that, Jake, I think on a couple of these games, we might have been a half a step slow on our press. It felt like it was really working in this one. And I really do love, that's the second time now I can think of it, because I think he was the one that played the ball into Simon. The first time that I was talking about Simon playing into Hartel, Edelman gets it off his foot. He's not a guy that's then going to try to, he could have easily carried that ball 20 yards, but he saw that Simon was up there. And I think that's the name of the game, Jake. You turn it over from them and you go immediately north to south. And the fastest way to do that is not dribbling it. Going back to, what is it, like bend it like Beckham? You cannot outrun a kicked ball. And that is the main point that Edelman is seeing right now, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, no, the more you talk about it, the more I feel like, and this is, to me, not something you should bank on as a team, like, oh, we've got to get Edelman to win the ball and have him spray it forward quickly. But the reason he finds these opportunities is not because he's the best passer. And I'm not saying that he's a bad passer either, but he's not known for like this incredible vision. What Edelman can do well is surprise teams. He can surprise players. He can get up in their grill very quickly and knock a ball loose. And when you do that, you're catching that team in rest, right? They're not set. They're not ready for that ball to be turned over. And when you've done that, everyone's a little bit out of position, most likely, in which case you have a chance to kind of play immediately and play direct. If you do that, you break the lines and you catch them off guard. I think Edelman's carrying that threat for us. We want to see more of that from him. And I think if he can do that, again, carry a threat in central midfield in terms of being able to poach and win 8 of 8 tackles on the night, you're going to have a threat in your hands.
And that's where it all became a great first half, which I'll round us out. But Jake, I also want to get my reference right. It was Goal, the movie. Do you remember this movie? Kind of rocked.
Santiago, right?
Santiago came up in the Real Madrid system. But yeah, to close out this half, Jake, some of the trends, some of the key stats that I saw, is the game flipped after the 22nd minute. We kind of alluded to it already. 22 minutes into the game, if you just paused it and you went and looked at the stats, the Revs had 4 shots, 3 of them on goal, and a goal, all with a 1.14 XG. You know what we had? 0 shots, 0 XG. 22 minutes of the game, they were absolutely dominating us. And I wouldn't say it really showed on the field, but from a stats perspective, flip that switch. From the last 30 minutes of that, the Revs then had 0 shots. We flipped it completely. We had 6 shots, 4 on target, with 2 goals and an XG of 0.82. And so I really do think that when that goal first went in the back of the net, I'm like, fellas, what do we talk about? You and I both had it as one of our keys to the game. Score first. Don't let him take the air out of the place. They let him do it. But this team showed grit and fight to close out that first half, and I really appreciated it.
No, they did. And for me too, we didn't even you get to the end of the first half, Justin, you get a little bit of stoppage time. We get a set piece. And I believe we are yet to score on a set piece this year. Well, we only had 1 goal prior to this. So yes, I do remember we had yet to score a set piece. And we've been waxing poetic about Santos' service. I mean, my word, the guy can strike a ball and he can put some wicked movement on it. And I would rather him take every corner kick from us from here on out, probably every free kick as well. I mean, just what he can do until Leuven comes back and gives you something from the right foot. I think Santos is your best ball striker on the team, right? So he's on the corner kick. Minutes are dying now. We're probably in the final couple seconds of stoppage time in the first half, and he whips one in. And as a goalkeeper, a former goalkeeper myself, Turner, usually you're taught as a goalkeeper, anything sort of within the six, especially from the goal mouth out to the sixth, you've got to come out and claim. And it doesn't matter if that's being in swung, out swung, whatever that is your territory. You got to be cleaning people out if that is in that 6-yard box. He doesn't. And there's a couple of guys that jump up for it in the near post, sort of mid to near post. Everyone misses it. Chris Durkin's sitting in the middle of the six, a couple yards away from Turner, and is in the right place at the right time as this is poorly defended, and he volleys this home, and we carry a lead into halftime, Justin. Not one I had on my bingo card here, but one that I will welcome.
Oh, it was awesome. And sorry, I feel like I just jumped through the stats and be like, oh yeah, we scored a second goal in the first half. Thank you for breaking it down. But I mean, it's one it's not forgettable because I agree with you. Look at this ball, it's coming in. Yes, if you're a goalkeeper, you got to try to come get it. But I think what's tough with the way that Santos whips these in, it is bending in and dipping down at the same time. And anybody knows if you try to ever like catch any ball, like even like a punt from football, when it's knuckling and coming in, it is tough to read. He probably thought this thing was going out towards the 6. And with the amount of pace that is coming, the PK spot, and the amount of pace that is coming in, whips back in. Absolutely terrible defending by the Revs. I don't know how I understand Chris Durkin, probably not the best shot taker on the entire team. But guess what? When you let the man just sit inside of the 6, he's going to finish the ball. And I'm glad that he did. Again, another one where like it goes right over Matt Turner, but that one you can't fault Turner. Like that's literally point blank as point blank can be. But yes, it all because of a great service from Santos, which is great. I feel like I was kind of dogging on him a little bit from the field of play from a defensive perspective. I love the way he gets up the field. I just think we really need to start focusing on that defensive side because he's starting to – I think teams are going to start to attack that. He's either too far up the field or he's not getting back, but a huge kudos to him and a great feeling for us to go up at home in the 45th plus 4th minute.
Yeah, I mean, if you're DeMay, obviously you're ecstatic, right? Like this is the first time in a long time that we've been in the lead. And it totally changes the approach in the second half because I feel like, Justin, they come out, they're much more like their second half of the first half selves in the second half where they're a little bit more solid defensively. They're not allowing those, up back through balls and letting Polvara get teased out of position or Orozco the same. Wingbacks are chipping in a lot more defensively. I feel like we came out in the second kind of a little bit timidly, but conservatively, not in a way that we were going to concede anything early on. We wanted to kind of feel this out, see what New England was going to throw at us as they kind of came out re-energized. There wasn't a whole lot of chances in the opening part of that second half. And I want to give Yohan DeMay some credit here because I feel like we kind of took this time to pivot, right? From what he talked about in the press conference, he at least started our midfield shape with more of like a diamond, right? Hartel at the spear, you have Edelman at the destroyer at the base, and you have Durkin, you had Celio. And then what you had after that was a little bit more of a, 210s sitting behind Betcher like we had more traditionally, I would say, where Celio maybe had a little bit more inverted time in the second half versus the first half. So we made adjustments. And by the way, Justin, it's not very often we get to talk about our coaches making in-game adjustments, or at least in a positive way, right? And I'm not talking just subs. I'm saying tactical adjustments to react to what you're seeing in front of you. And clearly it worked because I'm not saying New England had no life in the second half, but Justin, look at the stats here. They had one shot on target the whole second half. By the way, they're chasing the game now. And they were down by 2 goals at a certain point, which we'll get to our third goal. And for me, I didn't really worry a whole lot. There was that one Carlos Heel opportunity that Berkey saved very comfortably, but I wasn't like biting my nails waiting for New England to get the equalizer. I just felt like, yes, possession was not ours, Justin, but we were in control.
I did feel like we were in control. I wasn't overly worried that we were going to concede. I think I was a little bit worried that we only had 1 goal in hand, just because that is the most dangerous lead in soccer. And for a team like this, anything can happen, right? I was kind of expecting something to go poorly for us. The one thing when I was looking back at the stats was you could kind of feel it in the second half. Is I kind of wanted us to go on the offensive a little bit and step on their throats. I don't want us to get to do the whole, oh yeah, we're up 2-1, just like just play defense and kind of lock it in. I kind of felt that way a little bit, Jake, and which is, I would say, a little bit to where the Revs beat us in every second half stat, which is kind of what you expect, right? That's what we've been doing to teams. When we're down in the second half, we're the one in possession. We're the one with the shots. We're the one with the XG. But I would have appreciated that, and that's fine if we give up some of those stats, but I would have appreciated to see one specific stat a little bit higher on our end, and that was passes in the opposition's half. They had 92 versus their 92 in the first half, and they had 110 in the second half. We had 127 in the first half. That dropped to 70 in the second half. And I'm not saying it needs to be equivalent, but I don't think that big of a decrease, which is almost a 40% decrease. I don't want to be seeing that, because it seems like then we're trying to pass out of the back and just possess the ball, when in reality, it's a 45-minute game and you only have 1 goal lead.
Yeah, I think against better opposition, I would agree. We probably, we definitely took the foot off the pedal a little bit, right, in the second half, because we had the lead, which again, we're not used to. But for me, it was at least a learning opportunity to see what we stand up to against a game state like this, because we hadn't had it yet, right? It was our first opportunity to kind of measure how we react being up in the game and having to manage the game and not let teams get too high or get, a little bit frantic in our own defensive third. And again, my most impressive thing is I didn't feel it was very frantic. I felt like the guys had some calmness. They had some poise. There was one moment, Justin, on a corner kick in the 76th minute I wanted to point out, where it goes against what I'm just talking about right now, where we get a lot of numbers up for our own corner kick. We're up 2-1, remember? And it gets cleared, and New England had a huge counterattack with numbers pouncing forward. Now, we were able to get back. I believe it was Edelman that chased back, or Durkin that chased back, and we're able to kind of cut this whole thing out. But I again, those are small things, but small things have undone us these last, other matches before this. So I want to see us again continue to build on like this mindset of not being afraid when we gain leads, because it killed us all last season. How many points we blew from a leading position. This is just one of those games. Again, I don't think it was our best performance, Justin, but it did prove, or not prove, but it showed us something different than what we've seen in seasons past, with not blowing leads, with coming back from being in a losing position. Two things we have done, one a whole lot of, which is the negative one, and one not a whole lot of, which is the positive one, that being the comeback wins.
The comeback one was a huge one. I was so glad that you found that stat, but I'm probably even more happy, Jake, that we didn't blow leads, just because it's been so consistent. It's like at some point coming back and winning a game when you're losing, especially in a game like soccer where there usually aren't as many goals as like baseball or football or even hockey. It's fine with me that we don't have a whole lot of comebacks, but being able to keep the 3 points on this one, especially where this team has been the past couple of weeks, was huge. And Jake, the goal of the week, I don't even really think we need to talk about it, but I'll share it for people. And screw it. I'll even play some sound. We can just let them hear it.
Holster. Ceballos. Oh, poor ball there from Ceballos. Hartel! Magnificent!
How there was even a question for any other goal to be goal of the week. Like MLS is like, what did they tweet? Like might be the toughest one yet. I'm like, what are you talking about?
No.
That wasn't how this might be the goal of the year for this entire season.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, you'd hope MLS account gets this. I just, obviously, what a moment! Holy God, that was such a cool moment for City Park to get an insurance goal. When's the last time you saw an insurance goal? I mean, I feel like we're in fantasy land watching this happen. That looks like a Leuven goal, frankly. Anyway, I just want to give Hartel his kudos. Again, the guy is a finesse player, but he's equally as tenacious on pressing and being a part of, defending forward. And not a lot of good players, frankly, will do that a lot for you, but he's not. He is, with the team. He's with the team on this, and he's in the right lane, picks off a poor pass, and not even a great touch on that pickoff, but just the awareness to see Turner way too far off his line in that moment, and to know that if I get this ball, I'm shooting it the first thing I do. It's just that vision, like sort of you see the crystal ball in your head, Justin. If you're that good of a player, you almost simulate things before they happen in certain scenarios, and the good ones can do it, and they can execute at that level. And I feel like he played it in his head before it happened, because you can't do that if you don't have an idea of what you're doing before you get the ball. And he did it in the volley. That's not easy. I mean, he is so far out. Turner's not, he's not in no man's land, but he's got to struggle to get back. You got to keep throwing the bar. It's got to bounce and, not go back over the bar. There's a lot to do on the strike, and he made it look effortless.
And that's why the XG was 0.01. Jake, there was one other highlight, and it's more of a personal highlight I wanted to show you. Baumgartel is not being taught to do this because this is the kick on the first half, and look how this man settles the ball. For the love of God, settle it with the inside of your foot. Just learn how to do it. It's not like he's trying to draw on attackers by doing this because he does it and then immediately gets it off his foot. I just need this man to move with the ball, and someone needs to teach him it because I'm starting to lose it.
We gotta send you in there. Last thing. I want to say a last couple of things on this is I mentioned the comeback win. You mentioned the stat. We put it out there, but if you missed it, this was our first comeback win of the season. Obviously, very short season, only match day 5, and it's only the second since the end of the 2023 season. So we had none in 2024. We had one in 2025. So this is our second in call it 2 1/8 or so seasons, which is absolutely insane to think about, really. That just shows you how poor we've been from trying to come back from behind. But it shows that this team maybe has made up something a little bit different here, and we will have an ability to not be out of games just because we're a goal down. Again, I do not think it was our best performance, not our best match. I think Dome said as much in the post game, but when you can win matches when you're not at your best, that's a good thing. That is a really, really good thing. It kind of felt like a little bit of a regression back to some of the mean when it came to, some of our XG and our actual goal output, which, obviously you're going to enjoy. It felt way overdue. The timing feels good, Justin, given you're heading into a break, kind of get some guys sped up in terms of not even through injuries, but get guys acclimated in terms of fitness, integrated into the 11. Thinking guys like Cordova, guys like Falou Fall, maybe even Mbake as well. It comes at a really good time, and we still have a couple tough games coming up right after the break. So it's not getting easier, but coming into the break with a win, with 3 goals under your belt, regardless of how they came, I think is some wind in the sails for this club.
And it's a quick break, right? So it's only a week. So we don't have a game this coming weekend. We do play the next weekend at New York City. That'll be a fun one. I'm excited to do that for that preview, Jake. But I do want to round us out a couple of the key stats in this game as well. And I mean, one that I hate that you have it on here because I was thinking the same thing when I was looking at the stats was we attempted 21 crosses and only completed 3 of them. That's just 14%. But you do have a point. Normally it screams inefficiency, but in this match, it also reflects how much width and repeated delivery we are generating, especially through Celio. So I agree, man, when you say that, because I remember Celio when we had those like 46 crosses. I think he had like 42 of them. I'm kidding. But he does create that style of a game. It's just we got to be able to connect a little bit better than 14% there. But something else that we did, I like that you have in here, outside of the comeback win was the ground duels, winning 47 of those to New England's 31. That to me, when you're watching March Madness and you're watching SLU versus Michigan and we're getting cleaned up on the boards, that's Michigan having 47 rebounds and us having like 12. So I really do think winning the ground game there, to lack of a better NFL term, is very important in a game like this, especially when we're having a pressing style like that with Edelman.
No, I agree. So, I mean, definitely some things to take and savor and expound upon in further games. I also still think as good as we've been in terms of with the ball, there's a great clip going around about, the new Deme ball, right? Us having possession, attracting defenders, making those quick passes, incisive, getting that long direct diagonal out to Betcher, and Betcher then releasing Celio. If you haven't checked it out, I think we retweeted or something. It's doing rounds on social media right now. All that to say, we're still not breaking teams down to score goals yet. Our goals are all kind of coming in a similar way, like a high turnover or some sort of defensive lapse on the other team that we take advantage of and score a very direct goal. So I'm hoping those things start to come, those very repeatable things, so we can say, oh, crap, okay, we get something real that we can actually bring to most every game and count on to have some level of success in, because I don't think we'll always have these types of moments where we just can count on a defense to turn balls over, even if we force them to. So I want to see a little bit more of that, obviously, as we get on the other side of this break here, Justin. And I want to see some health, which brings us into the Ball Watching STL injury report, courtesy of our friends at the Schmidtgens Injury Law Firm. Real talk. It's been a short season, but to me, we've got some injuries that are nagging us, and I'm sure you all have had your own injuries in life as well, whether that's for your family or for your friends, whether that's on the job or for any nasty injury in a vehicle, what have you. Rob is the person to call. Make sure you consider Schmicken's Injury Law Firm. He will take your case as serious as you could possibly imagine, and he will press, he will fight hard, he will make sure that the folks on the other side don't try to run out the clock or take advantage of you in any way. So the best part, you won't pay unless Rob wins your case, and your fees will never be greater than your share of the recovery. So if you've been hurt and you need someone to help fight in your corner and fight for you, contact hurtinstl.com or call Rob at 314-222-4223 and mention us for a nice little special discount on the attorney's fees, available exclusively to our ball watching listeners. And Schmicken's Injury Law Firm is the place to go for those needs. Justin, again, I mentioned the break because it's a week. It's a week you don't normally have in the season, but we're dwindling down, fortunately. I read today that we had Ostrak and Pierce, who have been out for the season so far, both in limited participant status for this past practice. Toyshirt still out, and obviously Leuven not with the team. We had Totlin on the bench last match. And we had Falu Fall go 45 for City 2. So when I talk about injuries, we're kind of just now talking about absences. What kind of perks your ears on what could be on the other side of this break as we prep for New York City FC?
More interested, I would say, in Ostrak. I feel like Tyson Pierce has been one that's kind of been on the injury list, but again, I don't think he doesn't really have a role currently. I think we've kind of mentioned that, maybe he play right back. That seems to be Valum and or Totlin now that he's coming back. So if anything, he would be one of those role players. And if he sees the field before Makai Joyner, I will be going down to City Park and having a conversation with somebody. So I'm fine. Keep him on the injury list. Take him off it. I hope he's healthy. But from a playing perspective, he does not need to be considered on that. And then, Jake, I'd be remiss if I didn't include the Cordova counter. He's now played 3 games for us, all 3 subs for a total of 95 minutes. He's had 1 shot. It was a header. It wasn't even on target for 0.05 XG. We have 9 possible games left. I would kind of like that. What is it? Wild or Berkey's turkey guy. He keeps asking for the striker. I'm going to keep repeating this and just until this loan's over, just to see how the stats go.
Yeah, you're hoping this time they use again, but how much time do you want to dedicate to getting a guy integrated into the team that has single digit appearances left?
I know, but my whole thought process and the whole thing is the very beginning is don't get rid of somebody unless you have a replacement.
Yep. No, I agree.
And it's just not holding true. But Jake, I do want to give a quick positive shout out as well to Mark Abel and Ken Early's team. Reached out to them, had a family friend that had been going through some tough times, and they really took care of them and the family at this most recent game versus the Revolution. So huge shout out. I mean, this City team, we've talked about it before. Regardless of what people want to say about the team on the field, the people that are working for this organization are truly remarkable on and off the field. So I just wanted to give them a huge shout out because I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, making dreams come true, even if we can't get the wins all the time here. Final City news before we kind of break into former City players and performances, hint, hint, Santa Claus, and then break into U.S. men's national team. Mbake made his debut, a little bit forgettable given the limited sample size in this last match, which is good to see him get out on the pitch. Edelman made team of the match day. He was on the bench for his performance. Like I said, 8 of 8 ground duels, over 90% passing completion, 5 tackles, 5 recoveries, and an assist to show for it. Makai Joyner back in the U20 men's national team picture in Argentina this week. He's not getting a break. And these guys really aren't getting a break. They're getting a break from a match, but they're all still training this week and probably simulating a prep for a match week. But Makai is in Argentina playing the Argentinian U20 team, and I think a reserve side for an Argentinian team as well with the U20. So kudos to him. And finally, again, these are long-term kind of, we're spreading our seed here, but the academy, the prestigious Generation Adidas Cup is a big youth tournament here in the United States. We are sending our U15s and 16s this season. U15s are kicking off against Valencia and CF Montreal and RSL. The U16s are playing Toronto, Austin, and a South Korean club. And so these are all being streamed on YouTube, which I think is pretty cool for these U15s, U16 kids. And it starts on Friday at 8 a.m. So if you have that sort of sicko mindset to want to see some of the future and what we're building towards, we have some studs, some stars in these age groups, Justin, because I feel like at this age group, even if you look in Europe right now, just to kind of, I know we're not Europe, right? We'll get there. I really do feel like at some point, but you're starting to see people break through younger and younger and younger. I think of Max Dowman right now at Arsenal. Kid can barely drive, but he's being compared to and is showing some extreme poise, even at that young age. So I think we're going to really start to put a lot more stock in these types of youth tournaments.
It's awesome. You can see it on City's main social media as well, and their academy social media. But we have some studs absolutely coming up through the pipeline. So yes, it's very early on, but you never know when one of these guys are going to make through and have like a Miggy Perez type of debut for these guys. So for anybody that's looking to have a little bit more info on that than kind of where we cover at a high level, Soccer Dad Pod. Those guys kill it in and out from the City Academy and just generally kind of the youth soccer all the way through high school and getting people prepped for college. So go listen to them. We love JB and those boys, but they'll give you much more detail than what we cover here.
Former City guys tracker here, Justin, Joao Klaus. Hey, we're getting close to your prediction here, Justin.
That's the
3 goals did not help you last week. Joao did not score 3 goals. We obviously scored 3 goals, but Joao was on the score sheet again last week, as he now has 5 starts in LA's 5 matches and 5 goals to show for it. And that's just an MLS play. He also scored in CONCACAF Champions Cup just before this weekend against Mount Pleasant as they won in a 3-0 win. So, I mean, not shocked, having a great start to the season. And, a key kind of component of LA Galaxy right now, which is just cool. And we're super happy for him, obviously, in the story behind Joao. Giannis Horn, Justin, we have not talked about him yet. He plays for Rapid Vienna right now in the Austrian Bundesliga. He started in a 4-2 win. He had an assist and a yellow. And it's ironic because in that match, he played against Lask, which is where Samuel Adeniran plays. And he also started and scored in the first minute in that loss. So 2 former City guys going head-to-head in the Austrian Bundesliga also didn't have that on a bingo card either. That's a wild card out there.
I thought that was awesome to see that in here. So, I mean, shout out to us. Yes, it's cool to see them making it somewhere. I couldn't even tell you we could try to stream that or try to watch. I mean, you probably watch the highlights on YouTube. But back into the MLS, Jake. I'm gonna let you take the big name. I'll go through. I'll go real quick through the storylines of what actually occurred in the MLS already. So, real quick, if you didn't see it, Matt Freese, starting U.S. goalie for U.S. men's national team, absolutely fumbles Lionel Messi free kick, and that's Messi's 901st goal of his career. Hugo Lloris, complete opposite. 5th straight clean sheet is the longest shutout streak in MLS season history to start a season, and that's for LAFC. So they have still not allowed a goal in 5 games. Now, here are some of the team stats that are fun. Philadelphia Union, another L right on the forehead. Not a record to start the season with 5 losses, because I had to look this one up and I had to go back and make sure that the stats were correct. Toronto FC lost their first 9 games in 2012. That's not saying they didn't win a game. They literally lost all of their first 9. But I think this is almost just as impressive, considering Philadelphia Union won the Supporters Shield last year and is now going 0 for 5. And also pretty ironic because Bradley Carnell won his first 5 games with us when he was here, and now he's lost 5 in a row. 3 seasons later. So another kind of fun game to be noted was the Texas Derby, FC Dallas versus Houston. FC Dallas won 4-3. But the more fun stat on that was the score was 3-2 at halftime. What an electric soccer game. That's a goal every 9 minutes in the first half. And then lastly, Nashville is absolutely white hot. They knocked out Inter Miami, the CONCACAF champions, in the round of 16 on an away goals rule. And then they followed up that midweek game with a statement 5-0 dub over Orlando City, and Surich had a hat trick. But speaking of Orlando City, Jake, they've got some promise coming in this summer.
They do. Griezmann, the French stud, World Cup winning, perennial sort of, La Liga player, is coming to MLS, and he's coming to Orlando, who is having a brutal start to the campaign so far. But when you can attract a guy like Antoine Griezmann to MLS, he's kind of been touted for a couple of years now. We've heard LAFC at times. We've heard other clubs at times. I'm just glad he's coming. He'll be joining after the World Cup, which, remember, there are more MLS league matches after the World Cup than there are before. So he will be here for the bulk of the season. He's signing a 2-year deal on a free transfer from Atletico. And just some fun facts on Griezmann if you don't really know too much about him. So, like I said, he's a Frenchman. In the 2022 World Cup, he won the silver boot, which is the second highest goal scorer, and the bronze ball for the third best overall player. He had 4 goals, 4 assists in that tournament in their 4-2 World Cup final win over Croatia. Won man of the match honors. Perhaps probably the best player in Atletico Madrid history. He has never won a La Liga title, though, which is crazy. He's played for Atleti and he's played for Barca, and he's been in and around it that whole time. He's just never won La Liga. He does have 4 titles, though, with the Spanish club, including a 2017-18 Europa League. And I just want to say this is a guy that's been in and around the Ballon d'Or as well. He's had, third in 2 years, in 2016 and 2018. He's of a high pedigree. I really, really hope that he comes to MLS and has the impact that comes with his brand, comes with his name. I think he still has plenty to offer, Justin. I'm doing a quick age check because he's got to be in his low 30s right now. He is 35. Okay, so he's mid 30s. I get the 2-year deal even more now. But he's still doing it. He's still playing for Atleti, and Atleti is not a small, minnow in the European waters. So I still think it's cool. I don't think Orlando gets remarkably better because of this, because they have so many other gaps and deficiencies in this team. But I'm happy for them, and I'm happy for them. I'm happy for this league. Anytime you can get a guy like that playing, we've seen good things from these guys that find a new life. Like Timo Werner's even doing well in San Jose right now. Obviously, Messi's a good example. Thomas Muller. Again, I don't really subscribe to the whole retirement league thing. I think if you can get Griezmann, you get Griezmann. And I'm happy that he's coming here. I will definitely tune into Orlando matches.
Without a doubt. And again, Jake, it's starting to get younger. This is not a retirement. These guys are starting to sign multi-year deals. Mueller, 36. Messi's 38. Still absolutely killing it. Griezmann, 35. It's going to start getting younger and younger into the mid-30s. And these guys have plenty of room to grow. And Jake, I saw that stat today, so I wanted to double down on it. He spent 16 years in La Liga without ever winning the title. The most insane part is that he played for both Barcelona and Atletico Madrid, who between the two of them won 5 titles between 2015 and 2021, and he was never on a team that won it. So this man, not great for his title-seeking hopes, especially with Orlando now allowing 17 goals in their first 5 matches this season. Yes, people, quick math. That is over 3 goals allowed per game. You're not winning a whole lot of matches. They do have 1 dub so far this season. I believe it was over San Jose, and it was 2-1. But otherwise, they've been getting absolutely stomped.
You know what they probably need more from Atletico Madrid is Diego Simeone to just shore them up defensively, because God, they are just porous at the moment. Justin, let's talk U.S. men's national team. And by the way, I think we probably teased it in the past before. We will be doing a whole lot more of this in the run-up to the World Cup. We're just sort of dipping our toes in the water here for this window as these games are coming up hot and heavy with Belgium and Portugal on the horizon. But this is the March window. This is our last camp before World Cup camp. So those that are here probably put some significant stock in. Just because you're not here doesn't mean you're out. But this just feels a lot bigger than just 2 friendlies. And remember, these are just 2 friendlies. These don't count towards anything. But for me, it's Pochettino and it's the fans kind of final time to see the tinkering and changing with this team and hopefully see some key questions answered and get some solid answers on what we're going to see when this team takes the field in the World Cup coming up. So I take these, if I'm the U.S., and I'm sure they will, I take these very seriously. Right? You're looking for performances, but you're also looking for results. You want to show that you belong on a stage with these European teams. So I think I already said it, Justin, but this is a measuring stick for us. It's not often we get to play this type of pedigree of teams. And I fully expect us to be, head over heels and taking this very, very seriously. And we've brought in a strong roster to show for it. So what do you think, Justin? We've got Belgium on the 28th in our new Stripes kit, which, by the way, absolutely slaps. That is at 2:30 p.m. On TNT, HBO Max, Peacock. And then on March 31st, just a couple days later, we will have Portugal in our Stars kit, which I think is also good. Not as good as the Stripes kit. That'll be at 6 p.m. Central, also on TNT, HBO Max, Peacock. Justin, when you saw the roster reveals, any big surprises that were non-injury related? Because injuries, Tyler Adams, Diego Luna. I'm thinking Haji Wright. Those are 3 names that come to mind off the bat that you are just not here because of injury right now.
Yeah, and I'll share my screen, Jake, just to show everybody kind of where we're at. Because I believe, and maybe that's where I had this up as well. The total number of MLS players surprised me, and I'll pull that up. But also, that just to get people excited, yeah, Belgium's and Portugal sounds like a huge name, right? It is Portugal is number 6 in the world right now, and Belgium is number 9. So these are the teams that went into the first pot going into the World Cup. So this is going to be an awesome kind of trial run for us right before we get into the World Cup. But you can see here the amount of guys that are coming out of the MLS. And the one that was surprising to me originally, Jake, just more of a homer, was that we didn't have Patrick Schulte. But he is now in that group. So shout out to him. Born and raised St. Louis, went to SLU. Incredible goalkeeper for the Columbus Crew. Won the MLS Next Pro Championship before he went up and then won it with the Columbus there as well. So then if you look at this, we have Chicago Fire, Cincy, New York, New England. So all 4 goalkeepers originally were from the MLS. You move into our back line, Arvston from Columbus, Tim Ream, Charlotte. And then you work a little bit more into our midfield, Sebastian Berhalter from the Whitecaps, Christian Roldan from the Seattle Sounders. That guy has really kind of made a nook in the pocket of Pochettino. I'm very intrigued by that. And then other than that, pretty strong showing, though, from the MLS. And I'm very excited about this roster.
I'm here for it as well. I try to define, what are the things that are up for debate at this point. And by the way, a couple of these I've written down, Justin. I really just kind of feel where you're at on some of these out. I think for the large part, let's go from back to front, right? Let's start, keep the roster up. I think this is helpful. Goalkeepers, this is Freeze's position to lose, but I will just add a caveat in here as well. I mean, we saw Turner get beat this past week, which was fun. And by the way, I don't really necessarily fault him for that either. That's just a moment of class from Hartel. Maybe you could argue some positioning there. I feel like Freeze is the guy, and I don't know if he could lose it at this point, barring a meltdown in these last 2 matches or the tune-up matches. But I also don't feel like Freeze is where Turner was at before the last World Cup in 2022, where he was having some of the best form of his life in MLS. And he was just kind of flying into, sorry, he wasn't even MLS at the time. He was flying into it, though, with us. He was coming off of just great national team performances. I just don't really feel like we've seen Freeze get overly tested with the national team or like have to come up with a big Matt Freeze game. Whereas I feel like we knew what we had with Turner heading into the tournament. So I think Freeze is the guy, but do you fully believe that Freeze will deliver a goalkeeper performance that we need to probably get into the upper echelons and knockout rounds of this tournament?
Jake, what's exciting is that I'm looking at his stats right now. He has 6 goals against in 5 games. So that's pretty strong. Yes, it's the MLS, but guess what, Jake? We're going to see it first at hand, however the hell you want to put it. That's City's first game back after this as well. So yes, I don't even think, Jake, even if he has a meltdown against Portugal or Belgium, I still think it's his period. I don't think that you're going to be switching this out because guess what? I don't think Matt Turner's been stepping it up, and I don't think you're taking Chris Brady or any of these other guys over them either. Patrick Schulte, that'd be kind of fun, but I do think that it's Matt Freeze's to lose right now. And unfortunately, I think it's a lot of confidence thing. So like with Matt Turner, I think he's kind of down with the confidence. And right now, I think Freeze still has a lot of confidence. I think Pochettino shows that in him. And right now, when you're only giving up less than or just over a goal a game in the MLS, I think that's pretty solid.
Yeah, it's funny, Justin. I see a comment in here from JT. We're playing 2 of the 4 goalies in camp back to back. If we're a City, as we just played Turner, beat him, and then we will feature likely if he plays, obviously against Freeze on the other side of this. But let's move up to the fullbacks. I also want to talk center backs here, Justin, because this is largely who's going to be here, minus Serginho Dest, who I left off in my injury conversation. Serginho's going to be cutting it close with his injury. The other ones I think are a little more minor. But for the most part, you have who you're going to have here. I think you've got 2 left wing backs in Max Arfston, and you have obviously Anthony Robinson as well. Anthony Robinson, welcome back to the fold, my sir. We have not seen him play for the U.S. men's national team, I think, since 2024, given all the injuries that he's been going through. So it's a little bit of a question mark as to how he'll react and be deployed here. I think he'll excel no matter what, because he's probably the best player on that back line. If you look at them, just in their best form, I just feel like he has the highest ceiling. You've got 2 right wing backs, very different though, in a Joe Scally and a Alex Freeman. And Alex Griezmann could also probably dabble. Same with Joe Scally on that right center back spot as well. You've got Chris Richards, Tim Ream, Mark McKenzie, and Miles Robinson and Austin Trusty that kind of make up those three center backs as well. Obviously, Chris Richards is number one on that list. I think Tim Ream's probably number two. It's who's going to really solidify that third spot for themselves as well in here. So I definitely think there's a job to be won in this camp.
Yeah, Jake, I'm gonna sniff this and put it in here because I am very intrigued on your thoughts on this. But maybe we can go up through the midfield. We can talk about it at the end. But Lexi Alalis, has brought this to my attention earlier on. Are we going three center backs?
I think we are. That's where we found success in the last couple camps, and I would just be surprised if he ventured away from it so late on.
I know it's intriguing to me because when you look at when you work your way up the field, and maybe that's where we're going right now, it's like then you get to the midfielders, and it's like kind of the same thought process that I have for City. It's like your best players, like we're already question marking, do you really think Tim Ream is going to be a starting center back at his age? And maybe he will be, but if we're questioning that, that means we probably don't have another one to put next to him or two,
Yeah.
someone to beat him. And guess what? We're going to put two next to him. So maybe I guess from a format perspective and a formation and style, but then one of these guys is going to be coming off the bench. When you work your way up, you're like, all right, then you have Anthony Robinson left wing, Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams in the middle with Dest on the right. If we're talking about World Cup hopefuls, but then you're gonna leave off either Tillman or Tessman or Reyna. Yep. It's tough.
No, I agree. The back three definitely hinders the attackers because I feel like we're a little bit top loaded in terms of just pure talent. I'd rather have more of our midfielders and attackers on the field because I just think we're just more talented there. And that I would even extend to goalkeepers too. I just feel like we're at a lull a little bit defensively in this program right now. But midfielders wise, I agree, Justin, because I think I would, you look at this position right now, there's a kind of there's different profiles out for distribution right now. There's your sixes, there's your 10s, which looks like we're going to play with two 10s if we do a back three. I think Pulisic is obviously one of those 10s. It's who's sitting next to him up top. This is what gets to the Reyna of it all, Justin. The guy is barely playing in the Bundesliga right now. I think he's played single-digit minutes this calendar year, but he shows up in a U.S. men's national team kit. And if he, I know I'm subscribed to it most of the time, but usually I feel like Pochettino's trying to say club form. If you're playing, we need you playing to be on the national team. Reyna's that one guy that sort of lives in the extremities of that argument because he does not play at the club level, but he shows up in camp and he shows up in games and he's grabbing G's and A's. And he's just got something that a lot of these players don't have. So I'd be shocked if we don't see a good extended run out from him as well. But what do you do with a guy like Weston McKennie? When Adams come back, what do you do with him? I mean, there's Tanner Tessman's obviously very favored as well with Pochettino. So we're kind of stacked. They're all a bunch of different players, by the way, very different guys with different strengths and attributes in that midfield. But it's like the yin and yang. It's a battle in midfield because there's just so limited positions if you do play a back three.
The one that I'm very intrigued by as well is that a lot of people are, and we're talking about a guy that will be thinking about in this forward squad down at the bottom, Tim Weah. I've seen predictions that him as a center back. What is going on? I agree. At some point, you just you just play the best players, but at some point, that's not it either. I get to see him being a right back. You almost want to use him like a Dest or a Jedi getting up and back, a right or left back, but a center back? Why are we just shoving this in there? I mean, we have so much to break down when this gets closer, but I'm very intrigued to see how this team is going to be playing going into these two matches this weekend.
And you're going to learn so much. The one thing that don't think is up for debate at all, Justin, is our striker. I think Balogun is the guy. He is the man in the number 9 shirt. And he's having a good season for Monaco. And he's been better for us in the national team picture recently. I think he's got all the trust of his teammates and Pochettino. It's his role to lose. What I look at now, Justin, is with Haji Wright missing, who's having a great season himself, who's the next guy up? If Balogun tires, if Balogun goes off, is that Pepe? Coming off an injury himself? Is that Patrick Ajimam, who has the different athletic kind of profile that can get up, climb over defenders, give you something different, a little more aerial in his profile? Brendan Aronson, just a Energizer bunny off the bench as well, having a good season at Leeds. So there's a lot of quandaries. You wouldn't want to be Pochettino right now, having to pick out of this camp because you have so many different varieties of players and so many different good things going on. But how you piece it together, I think we'll get a lot of clarity on in both these matches. Because remember, these are 2 days apart. You're going to have to do heavy rotations for these 11. So I think he's going to give a lot of these guys a fair shake in a good extended cameo.
Yeah, and I think, like we already talked about, these are going to be two absolute firepower teams, and they're going to be looking to do the same thing. This is not going to be either team rolling out the B squad like it's some kind of friendly. Like, this is a true test and a tune-up for us. So the first one, as you mentioned, is Belgium on Saturday at 2:30 p.m. What do they bring? They bring power, experience, and high-end attacking quality, which is something that we need to be tested upon on this back line that we already talked about, that we don't even know who's going to be out there for us. So I feel like I'm starting to talk really fast because I'm getting excited. But they can punish us with turnovers and bad defensive spacing. So this is going to be a huge one, not only from where we're looking to have the ball, but again, very similar to City, your rest defense. Where are these guys? Are we getting up? And I don't have as many complaints when you watch about the U.S. men's national team. They actually play very well together and they're gelled, especially when you look at Jedi and like a Tim Ream. Those guys have played together a ton. And I think that they know where to be, where the ball is positioned on the field. So this is a game, though, that I really do think, and I like that you have it here, that our back line and midfield line are really going to be tested. Yeah, it'd be great if we can find a way to finish the ball. We'll create those chances. Those are always going to be created when you have a guy like Christian Pulisic feeding into a Balogun. But what are we doing from a defensive perspective? I think that's going to be the very interesting one in this first one against Belgium.
No, I agree. I mean, the test is, can you belong against a team like Belgium, and can you? I think of the two, you're looking for more of a result in this one, right? You want to say that you can defeat, you can go toe to toe with a Belgium. Then you get to the Portugal side of things, Justin. So just a couple days later, there again, no Ronaldo in this, but this is the type of team that is just filled with technical, poised players, both on the veteran side and on the youthful side. They're going to be quick movement, quick combinations, very tiki-taka, beautiful, beautiful soccer. They've won trophies recently. And I just feel like this for me, Justin, is a measuring stick of how much suffering can you do? And when you get your moments, can you inflict the same suffering on them? Because they will have, they'll be the antagonist, right? Or the protagonist when it comes to this match. We will have to probably do some level of reacting to them. We can't be passive. I think we're going to have to be tough on the ball. We're going to have to be very, very physical, and have to probably look in the break, which I feel like we have the guys to do between Balogun, between Pulisic, between Weah. We've got speed. We've got flair up top. Can you hit on the counter and hit, right? Actually hit in those moments and make them count. So they might be the better team, but can we still get a result, or at least have a performance at the very minimum, right, against a team that is just better than you, right? And that's totally fine. Have a team better than you, but you'll be playing teams that are better than you in this World Cup, probably very early on after the group play. Can you get a result even if you're not the better team? That's what I'm looking for against Portugal.
I need you to pump the brakes, Jake, and let's just get out of the group before we start looking at some of that. And we're also going to be figuring out, isn't it this weekend? I meant to pull that in on the teams that on the team that will end up being the last qualifier for us. Yep. I can throw this in here as well. But you have Turkey versus Romania and Slovakia versus Kosovo. They need to play each other. And then the winner of those two games will play each other to see who qualifies into the 2026 World Cup to be in our group. So that is also something to keep your eye on. We can put some stuff out there on social media. I also realized that you put it in here. P.S. We'll learn about who will become our participant in Group D. So apologies that I was reading right over that.
No.
Again, I'm getting too excited for these games, dude.
No, you're good, man. I mean, I think when you look at this, again, what does success look like? Again, this is your last sort of chance before World Cup camp. I think you want to get clarity on some position battles. You want to know, are we really going to stick to the 3-back system? You want to know who is, what role Weston McKennie's going to play. We haven't talked about him here, but he does so many things well on different places on the pitch. He's been deployed everywhere for Juventus this season, everywhere. And just because you can play everywhere doesn't mean you should play everywhere. Where does he play for this team and make an impact? So a lot of still open questions, but I want to see continuity. I want to see them build off of the success they had recently. I want to see a good culture. I want to see positivity. I want to see battle. And yes, it's friendlies, but I want to see a battle against Belgium and zero respect given to these opponents. I want to see something that represents U.S. soccer and gives us hope heading into this World Cup, because again, this is it before we have some final friendlies in our tune-ups against, was it Senegal and Germany as well. So it's going to be a quick run in. Justin, before we leave the show, give me your 11. I put mine in here for the U.S. And there's a couple decisions I haven't put in here right now, but let's just say there was one game. There's one game, right? Because then the rotation is a big piece of this. Given this camp, who's in here right now? So no Adams, no Dest, No Haji Wright. I think Adams and Dest are probably the two that you maybe slide into this 11. How I've got my 11 stacking up is Matt Freese. I've got Tim Ream as a left center back, Chris Richards in the middle, and I've got Alex Freeman on the right center back. He played that a little bit in this last camp, even though I think we'd probably slot him more on the right wing back side. I've got Anthony Robinson, left wing back, Tanner Tessman and Christian Roldan holding the central midfield, Tim Weah at right wing back, giving you a lot of verticality there, and Christian Roldan probably sweeping up behind him. And then I got Pulisic. I'm going to go Gio Reyna next to Pulisic and Balogun up top. That's who I would roll out if this was, game one of the World Cup, and this is who I had available to me.
So, Jake, I think I'm going to be very similar, and I'm going to run through this because then we're going to have to throw this out there. It's a lot to talk through for people that we probably haven't caught everybody up to speed too quick enough, but Freeze obviously in the back. I get it why people are putting Ream on the left because he's got, like, you think about FIFA, then he's got that connection with Jedi and Robinson on the left there. As from a left center back perspective, Ream, I'm more scared that he's going to get absolutely sliced and diced if he gets hung out to dry on the outside. You could throw him in the middle, be more like a Baumgartel, and then he gets less one-on-one defending. So I would actually rather go Richards, Ream. I'll stick with Freeman. I think you can put Tessman there as a right back as well. I like Robinson and left, but then if I take Tessman and put him in the back, I think I'd probably go like Johnny Cardoso, maybe to fill that spot. And then honestly, next to him, I'd put Weston McKennie. So I put Cardoso and McKennie in the middle with Weah on the right. And then in front of them, I'll go Pulisic, Tillman, Balogun. Because you didn't have McKennie in yours.
Totally fair. Totally fair. Totally fair. I mean, it's big quandaries, big decisions. And I do, again, these are just friendlies, but we're going to learn so much in what Pochettino's tendencies are in just these two lineups. I know. So I'm so excited just to honestly see a graphic and kind of know where his head's at.
This is the complete opposite of when we were talking about preseason for City. And we're like, I couldn't even tell you who's going to start. This is a good problem to have when you don't know who's going to start. Yep. We as City did not have the good problem. So this is a completely different way of looking at it. Jake, if you are interested in making a little wager, you can go on to our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook. You can get, we're home and we're plus 190, Belgium plus 135, and the draw at plus 240. We're going to have to, this is one, we'll be throwing some bets out there. Absolutely. Because this is going to be an awesome game to watch. What are your initial thoughts?
Draw. I think Belgium's going to be a good test. And again, we haven't had too many really good tests. I know we just mopped the floor with Uruguay right before this, but that's a long time ago now, right? Like we haven't been together in a long time. Neither have they. Belgium's a good side. They're going to be very stable, in my opinion. It's going to be a different thing for us to break down. So I could see it kind of being a little bit of a jab match, right? Like no heavy hooks or uppercuts, like just kind of feeling each other out with maybe a couple special moments of quality to maybe make a difference.
Jake, you usually like the both teams to score over 2.5. That's yes at minus 110 or no at minus 130. Do you think that either team will be scoring 2 goals?
Personally, if yes is minus 110, I would think about that. I don't see it being 0-0 is I guess where I'm going.
Well, yeah. Well, no. Well, it could be both teams to score. It has to be both teams to score in over 2.5. So it could be 1-1 in your yes.
I thought you said both teams.
Jake, I'll probably go USA over 1.5 goals. That means them to score at least 2 goals plus 125. Give me a little something to root for there. And or if you want to take Belgium, if you think that they might score, them scoring 2 goals is even money.
Ooh, okay. A lot of things to think about. And a lot of good things. Again, for City fans, good to be on a winning vibe heading into this international break and prepping for New York City FC. The guys, again, will not be taking a break. They're just not playing a match this weekend. And the U.S. is in their final stretch of friendlies before the World Cup. So soccer's coming hot and heavy, man. It is the summer of soccer. It's going to be here before we know it, or it's here today if you live in St. Louis, albeit briefly, before it drops back down. So hope you're all loving the content and the run-in. It's going to be a fun one. And we'll be back next week to break down what happened in these matches, as well as preview our date with New York City FC, who's off to a good start as well. So in the meantime, all for City.
All for City.